Breaking news, the Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed to CNN that federal law enforcement agents have raided properties owned by musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs.
Breaking news tonight, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul. His attorney tells CNN that he is currently being processed. The charges are unclear.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
Tonight, we are learning in just the last few minutes that a federal judge is now refusing to grant Sean Diddy Combs bail. Instead, he's going straight to jail tonight after Diddy pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking and
Diddy's empire crumbled recently as the public uncovered the dark reality behind his seemingly charming facade. Now that the truth is out, many believe it's time for him to face the consequences, which could mean jail time with hopes that he'll be locked up for good. In case you missed it, Diddy has been accused of several serious crimes in recent months, including a 52-page lawsuit filed by his former producer, Rodney Jones, alleging that Diddy was involved in running a sex trafficking ring, among other disturbing accusations.
Well, tonight, they arrested P. Diddy. News just broke that they took him into custody in New York City, so I figured now's as good a time as any to shit all over Sean again and remind everyone just how horrible this man is. So if you haven't read the court documents and done any of the other research on this guy, this producer he worked with named Lil Rod brought this lawsuit against him, Rodney Jones v. Sean Combs, alleging RICO allegation, which is like organized crime. And he alleged that a member of this RICO organization was none other than the CEO of Universal Music Group, Lucian Grange. Universal Music Group produced 1/3 of the top 100 songs last year, including Taylor Swift. Quote, while living and traveling with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones discovered that Combs had hidden cameras in every room of his homes. Mr. Jones believed that Mr. Combs had recordings of defendants Lucian Charles Grange, Ethiopia Haber, as well as other celebrities, music label executives, politicians, and athletes.
The lawsuit also exposed shocking claims of rampant drug use, firearms, and coercive blackmail. It even detailed how Diddy allegedly installed hidden cameras in every room of his house to secretly record his notorious freak-offs.
Big on recording all kinds of things, and he frequently took this guy's phone from him and recorded things at parties. So this dude wound up with hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity on his own cell phone, including the acquisition, use, distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes in California, New York, the Virgin Islands, and Florida. Yes, those Virgin Islands. Diddy's brother, Christian, drugging and sexually assaulting a woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact of his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, which is horrendous, and I'm not going to read from it. It's absolutely disgusting. This guy's a piece of shit. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr., yes, that actor, Cuba Gooding Jr., sexually harassing and assaulting.
Comedian Cat Williams had dropped subtle hints about Diddy's behavior long before the full truth was.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times, just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right, because P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Things escalated when federal agents simultaneously raided 3 of Diddy's homes in Los Angeles, Miami, and New York. This sting operation was clearly pre-planned as part of a broader investigation. Many believe the authorities had solid evidence of his misconduct, especially after the infamous Cassie video surfaced, showing Diddy assaulting his ex-girlfriend's friend in a hotel.
It's not just because it was a sunny day in Los Angeles and Miami. The timing of this, I have to feel, is very strategic.
Look, you're absolutely right. Yes, it was actually a beautiful day on both coasts, quite frankly, to conduct this raid. I've participated in several raids during my time with the FBI, and that's actually not uncommon, particularly in federal type of crimes, which is what we're looking at here. Crimes that are going to cross state borders. The key in something like this, in a nonviolent crime, is to the preservation of evidence. That's what is so important here. And that is why I believe this was done at exactly the same time. It's actually not unusual. It's something that is done, and sometimes it's less about capturing the person and more about ensuring that evidence is still there, evidence has not been destroyed, and we can get as much as possible.
Many experts weighed in on the reasons behind the federal raids on Diddy's homes, suggesting that authorities were likely searching for concrete evidence to support claims that he was involved in running a sex trafficking ring.
Before authorities, Wolf, can get into the home or property of anyone, you have to establish some firm basis to do that. And that is what at least we can conclude, that they had reason to believe that there were crimes involving sex trafficking, apparently, and that these areas potentially can give more information with respect to the specifics. And I think they would be looking for computer devices and other devices which would seem to indicate or give information as to whether there was any criminality very early in the process, but certainly we know that these have been carried out, and we'll see what, if any, information is gleaned to be suggestive of any criminal.
And they were right. Just a few months later, federal prosecutors presented a lengthy list of charges against Diddy as they prepared to bring him to trial.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers.
Now, Johnny Depp's lawyer, Camille Vasquez, who secured his high-profile victory against Amber Heard, may soon issue her own statement regarding the situation. Before that, her partner, Ben Chew, has already shared his thoughts. Chew previously criticized Diddy's decision to address the leaked Cassie video from a legal standpoint, stating it was essentially an admission of guilt. He spoke hypothetically, as if he were representing Diddy in a case.
I would not have had my client give a statement on the heels of the release of that video, and I certainly wouldn't have had him release that statement, because I think it will be fodder for future examinations and deposition testimony, none of which is going to be good for Mr. Combs. My guess, and it's total speculation, was that this was the product either of his own volition or that of his PR team, but the kind of top-notch criminal lawyers you often have on your show would certainly have advised him to stay quiet, because as you mentioned, he's just thrown out the window any potential objection to the authenticity of the video. Also, I think what he said was really not helpful at all.
Chew speculated that the decision might have come from Diddy's PR team rather than his legal advisors, as it complicates the lawyer's efforts, especially since they're clearly still trying to maintain his innocence. Despite the mounting evidence, Diddy has continued to claim innocence, even pleading not guilty to his recent indictment.
Appeal scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we've been wanting to make. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case. And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent.
Diddy's lawyer delivered a lengthy statement proclaiming his innocence and vowing to fight until the end. They also confirmed their intention to challenge the decision to deny bail.
We're no bail. He's detained.
We're appealing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're appealing the decision to hold him without bail.
When's the next court hearing?
Tomorrow at 3:30. 3:30, same place.
Will he be here? Will he be here?
Bail appeal tomorrow at 3:30, same.
Meanwhile, Ben Shu noted that the federal focus is primarily on the sex trafficking and racketeering charges, expressing confidence that they have a solid case.
We must believe they've got the goods on this, and as you said, they've been incredibly deliberate. We've been expecting this indictment really since the first raid, much less the second raid, and they really must have their ducks in a row.
Shu also pointed out that witnesses who had filed civil lawsuits against Diddy wouldn't be pressured by his lawyers to claim they were only seeking money, as they had strong counter-arguments to support their cases.
Doubtless they will try that. I don't know how far that gets you, because I think that the natural answer to, well, you're just here because you want to get money, the answer to that is going to be, no, I'm here because your client damaged me. So, I mean, I think it is a good line of cross-examination, but I think it's one that will have a real answer, which is no, I may be suing him, but I'm really here because he committed, he damaged me, he committed this crime against me.
He emphasized that when representing high-profile celebrities, lawyers must be especially cautious to protect their clients' brands. However, given the severity of Diddy's current charges, the primary focus should likely be on keeping him out of jail.
More challenging, and my partner Camille Vasquez and I, dealt with that with Johnny, and we dealt with that with some of our other clients, because you're not just dealing with, in this case, criminal charges, or in other situations, in Johnny's situation, the civil case. You're also dealing with the brand and reputation of the client. So to the client, that may be as important as the civil case or the criminal count. I think as lawyers, Desi, you and I would err on the side of preserving the legal rights. But when you're representing somebody like this, you have to bear in mind that they're constantly thinking about their image, their brand, and you have to really talk that through with your client in a way that you don't with an ordinary client who's charged criminally is only going to be concerned really with what's before him, whereas with somebody like Diddy, you're dealing with his brand. Although I think these particular charges are so serious, if I'm representing him, the only thing that matters is going to be trying to extricate him or mitigate the punishment that's coming his way, because he's not going to have a brand if he's sentenced to life imprisonment.
Criminal defense attorney Stacey Schneider highlighted that, regardless of public opinion, this indictment is unlike any other in Hollywood. She described it as a unique case, particularly because Diddy's sole listed motivation for such serious crimes appears to be personal gratification.
One of the most unique indictments I've ever seen in this area, in the area of sex crimes, because the government isn't actually prosecuting the sex crimes other than the human trafficking or the sex trafficking. They're not prosecuting any type of alleged sexual abuse to women, although that's part of this racketeering scheme. But the actual charges are racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting individuals over state lines to engage in prostitution. The reasoning around all of this, his alleged motivation as presented in that indictment by the government is for his own personal gratification. And that's just the strangest type of indictment I've ever seen. But I agree with you. This indictment it's very disturbing. The facts presented are out of, a very bad Hollywood story. And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those two raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles.
Meanwhile, Diddy and his lawyers seem to be working tirelessly to rally support. And there are reports that he may have threatened former Danity Kane member Dawn Richards' bandmate after she filed a lawsuit against him for sexual abuse.
One instance, prosecutors said just this month, Combs reached out to a former bandmate of alleged victim Dawn Richard more than 50 times in a span of 4 days. That former bandmate then made a public statement saying they were not aware of any abusive behavior from Combs.
The clear implication there is that there's witness tampering, that he was trying to talk her into making some negative comments about Dawn publicly.
Attorney Lisa Bloom represents Richard, who filed a civil case against Combs last week.
We really appreciate the power of the U.S. government going after Sean Combs and prosecuting him for what's only been whispered about for decades.
Whatever the outcome, federal prosecutors appear resolute in their efforts to imprison Diddy, while he is equally determined to avoid jail as his lawyers work to prove his innocence. Ben Shue offered a different perspective. Instead of stubbornly maintaining that he's merely an innocent family man in light of recent events, what if Diddy took responsibility and shifted the blame to those who enabled his behavior?
Do you think there is more incentive for him to settle these lawsuits, to get rid of them as soon as possible? Or if he does that, will that look worse now in light of the video? In light of his apology, what would you think would be the right move for him on the litigation front?
On the litigation front, I think settlement makes, it's really the only option. I think you settle everything and stay quiet and go to ground for a long time, and then hope that one day your work will speak for itself. But I would lie low. There's no upside for him defending these cases at this point.
Do you think there is a chance more people could come forward after this video was posted?
Absolutely. I think whenever you have a high-profile event, you are going to have more people coming forward because they will be emboldened by it, which I think is another reason to settle, because as long as these cases go on, they're going to garner a lot of attention, they're going to garner a lot of news coverage, and it's going to bring more accusers.
And to be clear, and I have to say this, he hasn't been charged with a crime as of yet. He hasn't been found liable in a court of law with respect to any of these allegations. They are allegations at this point, but clearly things have...
Whatever the outcome, a high-profile trial is on the horizon. But will Diddy finally face jail time? What are your thoughts? That's all for now. Be sure to share your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for more updates.